Hey, what is going on, guys? DK. Back at you with another video here to bring the two-game NBA main slate on Friday. And this could possibly be our last two-game NBA slate of this season, because if either Atlanta or the Clippers win, then it's just going to be a bunch of showdown slates. I guess they could do, the two-day slates, which, have, one day and one game in one day, one game in the other, right? But yeah, this could be possibly the last two-game slate on the same day of the season. If you guys are new to the channel, welcome. My name is DK. I make daily videos and a live stream for NBA and NFL slates on Draftkings, and I also make videos for NBA Top Shot. If you are unable to watch these videos, I also upload an Apple Podcast. Link down below is called the DKDFS Show. If you are interested in signing up for premium content, I offer that on patreon.com, an esports package. It includes Call of Duty and CSGO. We get CSGO slates every single day. Call of Duty slates normally 4 times a week. And then I also offer an NBA package. Now with the NBA package, starting to include those golfer data sheets. If you're interested in playing PGA, I have a bunch of data with course history and strokes gained, basically every single metric you can think of. So if you do subscribe to the NBA, you'll get the rest, or you'll get the golf data sheets for free. And I do want to thank Prize Picks for sponsoring this episode. So I'll go over a quick breakdown of Prize Picks if you guys are not familiar with how to play, if you're new, if first time watching. So the first way is the original way of you take over or under on fantasy points. So for example, Joel Embiid is projected for 58 fantasy points. You go with the under, take the over. You can check the rules and see exactly how it's scored, right? It's FanDuel scoring instead of Draftkings, so it's like 3 points for block and steal, -1 for a turnover. And they also offer single stats. You can take over under points, assists, rebounders, 3-pointers made. Again, they have basically every single sport you can think of. So if you guys want to try it out, you can sign up, use the code DKDFS. DKDFS, all one word, link down below. You'll get a 100% match up to $100. Basically, you put $100 in, you get a free $100 to play with. And the reason I like Prize Picks is it's a nice change of pace from DraftKings as we're winding down to smaller slates, 2-game and even showdown slates, because you're not playing against anyone, you're playing against the house. So as far as, is there any of these that kind of stand out to me? Let's see. So keep an eye. Both Mitchell and Conley are questionable. I would assume Mitchell plays, but if by the off chance Mitchell and Conley both end up getting ruled out, then you want to take the over in these Utah guys, right? Then you take over on Clarkson, Ingles, probably Bojan. You probably just load up on taking the over on Utah if both Mitchell and Conley are. And I don't think that happens, but just wanted to bring that up. I will say, I like him for DraftKings, but 20.5 fantasy points feels like a lot for Terrence Mann. So kind of like the under there. Probably the under in Pat Beverly too with 13.5. Again, more out there for his defense. And the Clippers kind of been messing the rotation, so there's never a guarantee for those minutes. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. So let's get into this two-game slate. I guess real quick, we can go over my lineup here from the Showdown slate. And that close to the takedown, guys. That close. All right, so let's go over my lineup. If Bobby Portis gets the garbage time run, I'm taking down. I'm taking first and winning probably 10K. I don't know. A couple, there's a few other people that had the same lineup with Bobby Portis and Tyler Johnson. But so I went contrarian here. I want Middleton, the captain, Durant, Giannis, Drew, Bobby Portis, and Tyler Johnson. Now, I talked about this a little bit in the YouTube live stream of, possibly taking zeros or, theoretical zeros to allow you to get one more star into your lineup. And I talked about this more in depth with Patreon, how I was going for this approach, because I thought that adding Drew Holiday to my lineup and potentially, so I was really hoping Bobby Portis would be back in the rotation. That's the reason I played him. But so it was, take out Drew, Portis, and Tyler Johnson and basically throw the chalk value in. So Jeff Green, Tucker, and Connaughton. So my thought process was, okay, everyone's going to play those value guys, right? It's a popular build. I want over the optimal lineup in Patreon of Giannis and the captain with KD, Middleton, and those chalk value plays, which I'm pretty sure that would have cashed because Middleton wasn't super high owned and he absolutely went off. And then Giannis was the captain play over Kevin Durant. So if you did use that, you probably still cashed. I went over that was the optimal. However, I was thinking, all right, so my lineup was like, all right, I want to play the 4 stars. And the only way you could do that with one of them in the captain was you couldn't do KD or Giannis in the captain with Middleton and Drew, because then you didn't have enough salary left for the last 2 spots. The only way you could do it was either Middleton in the captain or Drew Holiday in the captain. So I preferred Middleton to Drew there. That's why I went Middleton. And then for the last spot, the reason I wanted to get Drew over those chalk value was I thought the combination of Drew and possibly 10 to 12 minutes of Bobby Portis, I was hoping he would be back in the rotation, could outscore the chalk value of Jeff Green, PJ Tucker, Pat Connaughton. So that's the reason I did that. Now, Bobby Portis, unfortunately, was not in the rotation and didn't come in garbage time either. So the winning lineup was the exact same lineup. It was just Alize Johnson over Bobby Portis. Now, I thought about Thonsis Antetokounmpo. He was also another option. I believe someone had Thonsis. I think Big T had Thonsis too. Yeah, so Thonsis was one guy because I was like, hey, he's probably going to get a minute or two to close at the half for those defensive possessions. I was like, I could go Thonsis, but I rolled with Tyler Johnson and Bobby Portis. And yeah, again, one player off from 50K. So, with these showdown slates, I always play super, super contrarian, right? I fade the chalk, or, I try to get really, really different, take some zeros to make my lineup different. So I'm not splitting first with a ton of people. So yeah, that was basically my thought process. I hope you guys had a good night. It was a really good night for me. This is all I played was just the $20 tournament. Turned 20 into $337. But hope you had a good night, and let's see if we can keep it rolling for this 2-game slate. All right, so 76ers and Hawks is the 221.5 over-under. 76ers 3-point favorites, and Jazz and Clippers a 219 over-under. The Jazz are 1.5-point favorites. We'll start off with Philadelphia. And once again, Joel Embiid, I like at the top, even at 11K. He didn't shoot 4 of 20. He had a good score. He had a good shooting game, actually 12 of 20, and you saw it happen, right? 72 fantasy points. So I think Joel Embiid is still probably one of the best spend-ups of the slate, if not the best spend-up. And it's just because the combination of the high floor and the high ceiling. He looked a lot more healthy that last game too. He really didn't labor as much up and down the court. So in a must-win game, Joel Embiid, he might have to play a couple extra minutes too here. So yeah, I really, really like Embiid there at the top. Now, Ben Simmons, Tobias Harris both really struggled last game. I think both are fine contrarian options. However, I'm not going to prioritize either of them. Both should get 35-plus minutes. And Ben Simmons really struggled from the line. Tobias Harris really struggled from the field, 2 of 11. I still think they're decent plays, but again, more contrarian options. Now, Seth Curry at 5'4", so he's probably going to be the absolute chalk. All I'll say is just be a little bit careful. I still think he's a good play because I think he plays 35-ish minutes and he's a good shooter. If he does have an off-shooting game, though, right, it's possible, right? All he really does is shoot. He doesn't do the peripheral stats. So when he has an off-shooting game, he can go for like 15 fantasy points. That's realistic floor for Seth Curry. And, on a 2-gamer, he's going to be really popular. So I think you can make the argument to fade Seth Curry for sure tomorrow, because we're probably not going to get 13 of 19 shooting again from him. But yeah, again, I think he still is good play in the mid-range and should play about 35 minutes. I just think he might be a little bit over-owned. Now, Korkmaz, I'm fine going to him for value. The same thing I'll say about Seth Curry is, you can make the argument to fade him because he's pretty scoring dependent. However, he did play 29 minutes. I'm expecting around 25 minutes, which I think makes him a pretty decent value option. With the rest of the 76ers, hard to feel super good about anyone. Dwight Howard actually lost a couple of minutes. He was negative, I think, 14 when he's on the court, which is not good. So, at 3.2K, it's not completely out of play because if he gets like 12 to 14 minutes, he can definitely crush in that time. But yeah, definitely a contrarian option. Not really interested in anyone else. Like Maxey, Hill, Shake, Thibault, these guys all probably get a little bit of run. If you want to roll the dice in one of those guys, sure. The guy that would be for me would probably be Shake because he's the best offensive player, but he only played 13 minutes, and the best offensive player of that bunch. Thibault played over 20 minutes. Again, though, more at the first defense. I don't have a ton of interest in the end of the bench guys. All right, on Atlanta. So Trae Young at 9.9K. I have no issue. Closeout game here. Should play about 40 minutes. 61, 56 fantasy points the last 2 games. I think he's a perfectly fine spend up that, again, going to get a ton of shot attempts up, floor the assists as well. So, yeah, no issue with Trae Young. As I said all series long, I will continue to fade Capella. He continues to get ownership. He got, like, what was he, 30% or something? I forget what he was. He was like 30%. He went for 19 fantasy points. Just no interest in him against Joel Embiid. I don't target centers against Joel Embiid. Bogdanovic, I'm very much intrigued by him for tournaments because, number one, he shot awful. Number two, he got in severe foul trouble and only played 21 minutes. They actually closed with Lou Williams. Now, more often than not, Bogdan's going to be that closing, right? We've seen it basically every single game. And we've seen about 40 minutes from him besides that last game. So, recency bias, I always talk about it in DFS. It's going to lower the ownership of Bogdan. I'm fine going back to him. I think he plays about 40 minutes and still a pretty safe option. And John Collins, I think, is pretty safe too. However, I think he will be a little bit more popular after that big game. I think we get about 35 minutes. A good rebounder can block some shots. So, yeah. I think John Collins is pretty solid. Now, with Gallinari versus Herter, it's just an ownership thing, right? These two are pretty similar plays in the fact of one of them is going to get extended, whoever plays better between the two. They've gone back and forth basically every single game, right? So, Gallinari had the big game last game. I prefer Herter because I think Gallinari is going to be more popular, right? Herter shot 0 of 7 and played awful, but he can still go for 25 to 30. We've seen 23, 29, 30 fantasy points from him already this series. So, right, it's a hot hand situation with Herter versus Gallinari. Both are going to play. However, one is going to be in the closing lineup and one won't be. And they're going to go with whoever is shooting the ball better or playing better. So, with Herter versus Gallinari, it comes down to ownership. And I think Herter's going to be lower owned, so that's the reason I prefer him to Gallinari. Lou Williams at 3-2, I do have some interest in him. Now, I don't think we get 23 minutes again from Lou. I think we get, 12 to 14 minutes, and if he's playing really, really well, he could close like he did last game. But in 12 to 14 minutes, he can go out and get you, 15 fantasy points. So Lou is someone that I think you can use as a punt play on this slate. So let's finish up with Utah and the Clippers. So the big pieces of news are Mitchell and Conley both questionable. Now, it's do or die time for the Jazz. So, does Conley tough it out here? Maybe. Also, Mitchell, this is the first time he is questionable now with an ankle, and you could tell that was really bothering him last game. So, monitor the status of both Jazz guys. I will say, if surprisingly they are both out, then you play Clarkson, you play Ingles, you probably play Bojan, you just load up on the Jazz, right? I don't think that happens. My guess is, I would say 90% Mitchell plays. I think it's about 50-50 with Conley. So this one's tricky. Mitchell, if he does play and there's no Conley, I still like him at the top. Obviously, he's dealing with the ankle injury, and he had his first bad game in a while there. But, he still had some big games here with that, kind of bum ankle. So I still like Mitchell, especially if Conley is out. Now, if Conley himself plays, keep an eye if there's a minutes limit, right? If he's full go and they're going to kind of James Harden it and they're just going to throw him out there for as many minutes as he can play, then I think Conley's intriguing. But if Mitchell is in and Conley is out, then it's the same thing, right? Then it's Clarkson and Ingles that get probably the biggest minutes bump. I think Ingles probably starts and plays around 30 minutes. He's been pretty consistent. And then Clarkson off the bench should push for 30 as well. He has not really shot the ball great, but he can still get hot and go for 35 to 40 fantasy points. So Clarkson more of the tournament play. Ingles more of the cash play. Now, Bojan really lit it up in the first half, kind of cooled off in the second half. He's going to play big minutes too. I'm perfectly fine with him. However, he does have a somewhat low floor if he's not hitting his shots like he did, 3 games ago where he shot 2 of 10 and went for 15 fantasy points. Now, Royce O'Neal, I think, is pretty safe. He's going to play big minutes, a good defender, a decent rebounder, can do some of the peripheral stats. I think a very safe option there at 5K. Favors the Flatman price. Did only play 6 minutes last game. I think normally we get 12 to 14 minutes from him, which makes him a viable large field tournament play. And then Yang's at the Flatman too. He struggled recently. However, if Conley's out or if surprisingly both are out, then he is a guy that probably plays a lot more minutes and would become in play. But other than that, I don't have a ton of interest with Niang. And finally, the Clippers. So Paul George got the big price bump. Again, according to the YouTube chat, right, he scored independent. Was a bad play last slate. Clearly they're just spewing BS. But yeah, 37 and 16 and 5 and 2 and 1 for Paul George last game. Now, I don't know if we get that good of a performance again, but he's the clear number one guy, and he's going to just have such a high usage rate. So even at 10.1K, I think Paul George is still a very safe play here at the top. I still like Paul George, and I still like Reggie Jackson. He's going to be the number 2 on offense, right? He played 37 minutes too, so good scorer. Can get some assists. Probably going to play about 35 minutes. I think Reggie's a pretty safe play in the mid-range. I'm high once again on Morris and Batum. I think both these guys play at least 30 minutes. We got 40 from Morris last game, and we got 42 from Batum. So, yeah, sign me up for 40-plus minutes for both those cheap value options. I like Morris and Batum and Reggie. Again, I am very high on this Clippers team. Now, the rest of Clippers. So, I rolled the dice last game in Zubac, of course. This is the one game where Ty Lue only plays him one shift. No surprise. Now, there's still a chance he plays 2 shifts and plays like 15 minutes, but I think he's a pretty risky option because the small ball is where the Clippers want to go. Terrence Mann at 3-2, assuming he starts again, I think it's actually a pretty safe play. I think we get around 25 minutes. He got 26 minutes last game. He's a guy that is a decent defender and a decent scorer too. So I like Terrence Mann for value, assuming he starts. And then Luke Kennard is playable too at 3K. I think he gets somewhere around 15 to 20 minutes. Probably the better shooter of the two. And we actually saw the offense for defense swap there late in the game. Kennard would come in at offense, Mann in at defense. So I think both these close to min-price Clippers guys are value guys we can definitely consider on the slate. And then I mentioned them possibly dusting off Rondo. They did, but only for 9 minutes. So, not going to get super excited about that. Pat Beverly is probably going to get around 15 to 20 minutes. If you want to go there, I'm not going to talk you off them. And that is really it for the Clippers. So, pretty high in Paul George at the top. I like those, mid-range value guys in Reggie, Morris, and Batum. And then you have really the combo of Mann, Kennard. You can throw Pat Beverly in there too. That I think are all in play close to min price. All right, so that is going to do it for the video today, guys. If you have been enjoying the content so far, I would really appreciate if you hit the like button on the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell so you don't upload videos. When I'm live. I will be live tomorrow. Make sure to check it out, guys. Going to be doing a dual live stream with DFS by Noah. We're going to do it on my channel, so keep an eye out for that. It'll probably be a 5 p.m. Central start, so I'll tweet it out more tomorrow. So if you guys don't follow me on Twitter, make sure you do. So you don't miss any of the information I put out there. So thanks again, guys. Have a great night, and I'll see you all tomorrow in the live stream.